welcome to another episode of the Endurance Junkie podcast, a show where I will be interviewing some of the fastest, smartest, and most inspiring people active in the endurance world today. And my guest today is a bit of a legend. It's Bart Yasso. And Bart is the Chief Running Officer at Runner's World magazine and author of the book My Life on the Run. He's one of the few people to have completed races on all 7 continents and has influenced thousands of people to improve their lives through running. Bart is also the inventor of the famous Yasso 800s, a marathon training schedule used by thousands around the world. Bart, thanks for taking the time to chat here today. For those of us who don't know you, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your sporting background, and when and why you started running?
Sure, Peter. I got into this running stuff about 38 years ago. There was a bit of a running boom going on in the 70s with, in the States, Frank Shorter winning 2 gold medals. One gold medal in 72 and a silver medal in 76, 2 Olympic medals. And Jim Fixx's book came out in 1977, The Complete Book of Running, which sold over 1 million copies. So there seemed to be everybody running, and I needed to get in shape, so running seemed like the perfect way to do it. And so I got out there just to get in shape, not thinking I would do running races. I just wanted to run because it seemed like the easiest way to stay fit and get fit. And then I did that first road race 5 years ago, and then I was hooked on the sport. And it's literally have taken me all over the world, and it's my profession. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, cool. So it definitely was as a result of the running boom in the 70s. And you say you took you a while before you did that first race, because you seem to be more in it for fitness and not just for the racing itself.
Yeah, you're right, Peter. I was out there probably about 2 years running and never even thought about doing a race. I was just happy that I was in shape and enjoying the benefits of running, stress release, weight loss, just general good fitness habits. But once I did that first race, man, I was hooked.
What was that first race? Do you recall?
Oh, that first race was a small 10-kilometer race about 30 miles from where I was living at the time, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Race that's not around anymore. But my older brother George was the one who challenged me in the race, and that was kind of a fun thing to get challenged, and we duked it out. He beat me by a couple seconds, and then we duked it out again. I beat him, and eventually I could spot him 5 minutes in a 10K once I got real serious about it. But he was smart to challenge me. He knew I had some potential, and he was the one that really convinced me into taking running, more as a sport.
Did you race him a lot afterwards?
Yeah, we raced quite a few times, and then we got our whole family involved in some races and some relay races. So it was really fun to do. And unfortunately, my brother passed away from cancer, but he was such a good guy, and he really instilled that fitness spirit in everyone he touched. He was a really good rugby player, a really good football player, and he ran pretty darn well for a big guy. He was, he was built like a rugby football player, but he ran pretty darn fast.
Yeah. I think I came across the fact that you organized a memorial race for him.
Yeah, we do a memorial race in the little town that we grew up in, and we try to keep that spirit going, throughout the years, because he was pretty active in the small town and specifically working with youth and fitness.
Cool stuff. Now, when I've had a quick look at your Athlinks profile, and I see 129 race results that are claimed, including 53 marathons. But I think there's a lot missing there, because you're one of the few people who raced all over the world on all 7 continents.
Yeah, and that was on Athlinks.
Yeah.
They never went to that site, so I don't even know how those races get loaded up there. But I did a ton of races, tons of marathons, tons of triathlons, long before the internet was ever around. So
yeah.
I don't know where those race results are, or if they're archived anywhere. But I remember when I wrote My Life on the Run, I was asked specifically how many races I have done, have competed in, and I had no clue, but I looked at old stuff that I had, and I came out with well over 1,000 races back in 2007. So I had no idea how many races I've done, but a lot. And literally I've, done races all over the world.
Can you tell us a bit about, a couple of the most memorable ones and why they have become memorable?
Sure. The most memorable, it's never the ones that you set a PR or win or anything like that. The most memorable always have like a family connection or a connection that you firmly believe in. And the first one that comes to mind is the Comrades ultramarathon in South Africa. Just because to see the change in South Africa and to be part of the oldest ultra in the world and the largest ultra in the world, it's a phenomenal event. And I just, it was a joy to get to that finish line of Comrades. I remember back to the Rome Marathon in Rome, Italy in 2001. At the time, it didn't seem that significant, stopping along the way as my mom came along for the trip, and she was at Trevi Fountain and at the Spanish Steps, and each time I passed her, I would actually stop and hang out with her for a little bit during the race. And she was she never witnessed that before, where I'd actually, didn't care about my time. I was just out there to do the race. And, now that my mom's passed on, those are fun memories to think, that I took the time and stopped and gave her a hug and chatted with her, because she came all the way to Rome to watch the race. So it was worth it to stop and, tell her that how much it meant to me that she was there. And, I did that Badwater race back in Death Valley and, the crazy temperatures. I did that back in 1989 when no one actually knew about the Badwater race.
That was one of the first editions, right?
What's that?
That was one of the first editions?
Yes, it was I believe it was the third running of the Badwater 146. And, That's
miles, right?
Yeah, 146 miles, and it was fun to get to the finish line and to say that you did one of the most arduous races. But I just remember all the people that I meet that come up to me and say, because you did Badwater, I put it on my list of crazy races to do sometime in my life. And I hear that from people all the time. So to think that I was a little bit of a pushing point to get people into this ultra and challenge themselves in races like Badwater, it's a pretty fun feeling to get feedback like that from lots of runners.
Yeah, sure must be, because I see a lot of people who have been doing the triathlon thing, and they've been doing Ironman for a while, and they're looking for the next big thing, and ultra running seems to be it.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it.
It's booming here in Europe. I guess it's the same in the U.S.
It is same in the U.S. No doubt about it.
Cool. Now you are Chief Running Officer at Runner's World, and I think a lot of people envy you for that position.
Yeah.
Because we all know, a Chief Executive Officer and a Chief Marketing Officer, but what does a CRO do exactly?
Yeah, I love my job title. I don't know where that came out, but Chief Running Officer is a great job title to have. And I believe, if my memory serves me well, I was given that title after I was inducted into the Running USA Hall of Champions, and as a reward for being inducted in the Hall of Champions, I guess I got a promotion, and that job title was created. And the best part of being a Chief Running Officer is I get to go to events all over the world and, be part of the races, not so much just as a runner, but part of the whole weekend of festivities. So I'm always interacting with thousands and thousands of runners at these events and get to meet some of the most amazing people, amazing athletes and amazing people. And that's by far the favorite part of my job. Specifically, what does a CRO do, or the Chief Running Officer? Having a vague title like Chief Running Officer allows me to work with all facets of the magazine. So whether it's marketing, circulation, advertising, editorial, digital, social media, I get to interact and be part of everything. And that's another good part of being a Chief Running Officer. And I'm out there connecting with runners and connecting all the Runner's World products with runners at events, and I just, luckily for me, I love to travel, and it comes in handy when you go to about 45 events a year.
Oh yeah.
So I really do love connecting with these with runners at these races, but also I get to hear their stories, and some of those stories end up on the pages of Runner's World or on our website, wherever they may appear. So it's fun to be that person that gets the story rolling. I may not play a role in the feature piece or the story, but I do play a role in getting the story going, and then we'll either get a freelance writer or, take it from there. But that's, but just play that role to get things moving is a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. Do you have a chance to participate in those races as well, or?
I still do a couple races a year. Certainly not like the old days, but I still probably do 5 or 6 races a year. If I get out and put that bib number on and do a race, there has to be a reason why I'm doing it. I just don't, go out there and run a race just for the heck of it these days. I really I don't run that much anymore, so I'm a lot slower than I used to be. Lyme disease beat me up pretty well, and I have some problems with my right leg, so I really have to be careful. I don't have a lot of miles left in these legs, so I really parcel them out to make them worthwhile.
Yeah. Save them for when the time is right.
Yeah, so if it's a race, maybe a race that I've never done before and I always wanted to do, or when I go there, there's a story attached to the race, and, I'll run some of the miles with that person who is the story. Or, a race just happens to be in a location that I love, like Hawaii or something like that, and then I just go out and do it because it's just impossible to not do it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Hawaii, because you also had a brief Ironman career, I believe, in 99 and 2000, even qualifying for Kona after qualifying in Canada a couple of weeks before that. What effect do you think that all those running miles you had accumulated over the years had on your training for Ironman?
Yeah, it's funny. My first triathlon I did was in 1982. So I was doing a fair amount of triathlons between like 83 and 87.
Okay.
And I was doing pretty well. I used to win a lot of local triathlons, but I wasn't doing the Ironman stuff. I think the longest distance I did back then was half Ironman. And did a lot of duathlons, the bike run stuff. And again, I used to win a lot of those races. I had fun doing that stuff. But then when I took on the position at Runner's World in 1987, I started traveling a lot. And traveling a lot and triathlon training is not a good mix when you don't take your bike with you when you travel, and it's hard to swim. So
yeah, run shoes are a bit easier to carry around.
Yeah, so I sort of gravitated more towards running races. But then I remember sometime in the late 90s, I said, you know what, I got to do the Ironman at Kona. I should have done it back when I was doing all that training to do it, and for some reason it just didn't happen. So I remember saying to myself, I got to do it. So I did a couple Ironmans, and then, as you said, I qualified for Kona at Ironman Canada. And then, I believe that was the last Ironman I did was Kona. So I was happy to get to Kona and do it. And, it's just, I admire people that do it, that can, travel as much as I do. I don't know how, it makes it pretty tough. But as you said, I can always pack running shoes, and it's pretty easy to run a few miles everywhere, but a little different to spend that much time in training. I commute to work on my bike, so when I'm not traveling, I ride my bike to work, but it's an easy 10-mile ride each way. Yeah. And I really, and I'm low key these days. I don't think there's any grease on the big ring on my bike. I just live on that small ring and enjoy my 10-mile commute. And I go to the pool every once in a while and do a little swimming. But I certainly don't train like a triathlete.
Yeah. Well, when you were training for Ironman, did you train differently for the marathon compared to the previous standalone marathons that you did?
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I didn't. I don't. I always thought that in the Ironman, you don't need that much leg speed. You really need the strength. And I just relied on, I used to really work on my cycling because I thought, you're out there for 112 miles. You can make up a lot of time if you have a good bike ride. And I knew I could always get off that bike and run a marathon at any time. So I really kind of, I was never that good at swimming. So I really think when I got into that Ironman stuff, I spent a little more time working on my swimming technique, and then really made sure I was pretty fit on the bike and ready to cover that 112 miles as fast as I could. And then, I always knew just once you get off that bike, run a marathon. I always felt I could just run a marathon in my sleep back then.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but I always had that mindset that I could.
Yeah, well, it's good to have a few under your belt, and it'll give you some confidence about tackling that race.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Now, you've gathered a ton of knowledge over the years. What are the most common mistakes that you see in age group runners, and what running wisdom can you pass on to those who are just starting out?
Yeah, I coach so many beginning runners, and I get so many messages from beginning runners, and of course, everybody wants to get faster and stronger, and they want to do it overnight, and you just can't do it. I mean, I always tell people I know it's counterintuitive to say, but it really works. If you run slower, you will become faster. I know that's like the craziest thing to say to a runner, but it really does work. And when I'm saying running slower, about 70% of your running is done at what I would call a recovery pace. And if you can slow yourself down on those recovery days, those easy days, you will run faster on those quality days that you're working on leg speed or a hill workout or a longer run. And that's how you become a good runner, is to run faster on those quality days and take it easy on your body on those recovery days. And just to build up slowly and think long term. Be happy with small gains early on. And, if you can take that mindset right from the beginning, you can be in this sport a long time. And for those people that are just pure runners, that don't dabble in the triathlon world or the duathlon world, you still need to cross-train. I always profess a little bit of cross-training for someone that's just concentrating on running, because you got to give your legs a break. Sport of running is hard on your legs. If you're going to do it, again, I mean, I've been doing it 38 years. I want to keep doing it for, another 20 or 30 years. And to do that, you just have to be smart about it. Give your legs a break, take some downtime. And, on that downtime or taking those little breaks, you can still stay fit by doing other exercise.
Yeah, definitely on the bike. I mean, if you don't have the impact, you still can get a pretty decent cardio workout there.
Yeah, and you can really teach yourself, a nice spin class or just going out, turning easy gears. It's a great recovery tool. And, it's just a joy. And, as a runner, you can do things on a bike that we normally can't do running. You can, eat 2 pieces of pizza and hop on your bike 2 seconds later. We don't do that in running. And you can cover more distance and, go places that you just don't get to see on your runs, and just go out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, the only downside is maybe that it takes a lot more time to do the same amount of exercise than if you go run. If you run for an hour, you get a decent workout. But if you cycle for an hour, it's you're just warming up.
Yeah, running. There's no doubt about it. Running is the most time-efficient exercise out there, and cycling takes a little more time. But but cycling, I'm telling you, there are a lot less injuries. Like sort of overuse injuries. So it's really beneficial to give your legs a break.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. And I guess that leaves me with only one more topic to cover here today. Yasso 800s.
Oh my God! Yasso.
You heard of them before? Yeah?
Yeah, I've heard of them. I always tell people when they ask me about Yasso 800s, I always say, "Okay, did they work for you?" And if the answer is yes, then I say, "Okay, I invented those things and they're named after me." But if the people say no, then I always kid around with them. I say, "Hey, my brother came up with that idea. I have no idea what you're talking about." And then I see on Twitter and Facebook all the time and sometimes they copy me on the tweet or Facebook, and they say they're going out to curse my name 8 times or 10 times on the track. So it's kind of fun to have a workout named after you. I kid around with people a lot about it. But, Amby Burfoot, gentleman who won the Boston Marathon and was an executive editor at Runner's World for many, many years, Amby was the guy that named him after me. I was doing that workout, 10 times 800, 400 meter recovery. If I wanted to run a 240 marathon, I did my 800 meter repeats at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. That correlation of 800 meter repeats in minutes and seconds equals your marathon time in hours and minutes. And I'm telling you, it was spot on for me. I mean, it really was a nice barometer to tell me my fitness level, to show me what I was capable of doing. And that's the way I used it. I still did tons of other hill workouts and different track workouts, but I always went back to do that 10 times 800 to show me what kind of shape I was in, and it really did work. And then, of course, Amby said he named him after me because I was the founder, but also I had an unusual last name. And he said, this Yasso 800 thing is going to stick around. And I totally thought he was crazy. I didn't even know they named him after me right away. They kind of hid it from me. But once the magazine came out, I realized what was going on. And, I said, okay, people will do Yasso 800s for 1 month. The magazine's out there, and then no one will ever remember Yasso 800. And that magazine article, I believe, was in 1992. It was either 1992 or 1993. Early 90s for sure. And man, I hear about Yasso 800s every day of my life. So Amby was right on, and I was not. Of course, he's a genius and a gentleman that won the Boston Marathon, so it makes sense that he was correct and I was not. But he is amazing. It is a fun workout, and it's not an easy workout. 10 times 800 with a 400 meter recovery, and then running 20 to 25 minutes as a warm-up beforehand, and running 25 to 25 minutes after the workout to cool down. It's a nice little workout.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I've run a couple of standalone marathons myself and used them every time in training. And it is, as you say, I mean, you start cursing them because you fear them because you know they're coming up, and you're scared shitless when you have to do them. But they definitely work. Now, how did you find out that there was a correlation between your 800 time and the marathon?
I never even knew about the correlation. I just always liked that workout, 10 times 800. To me, the 800 was like 800 meters was short enough that you're getting leg speed, but long enough that you're getting endurance. So I thought it was a nice combination. So I just like that 10 times 800, never knowing this correlation. But, at the end of my workout, I would write my average time. So I would put down, I average whatever it was for 10 times 800. And then, do my marathon. And, of course, in my logbook, I would write my marathon. This is back in the days, I'm talking way before the internet was around, when we kept all the training logs, on paper. And lo and behold, in like 82 or 83, that's when I discovered the correlation. I looked back at these marathons that I was doing, and I was like, wow, I got faster. These 800 meters got faster, and my marathon time got faster. But whatever I averaged in those 800 meters, that was my marathon time. And I just thought, wow, that's a pretty cool thing. But I really never told anybody. I never, I didn't profess it as a workout to do. It's just something that I used. And then I told Amby one time when we were traveling together about it. And oh my God, he went crazy. He thought it was the greatest thing ever. And, and it said it's got to be a story in Runner's World, and named him after me and called me like a professor and all this stuff. It was pretty funny. And it was a well-received story. I got to hand it to him. Our readers really loved it. And, of course, now you'll see it all over the internet, and everyone takes credit for it, which I get a kick out of, and including people coming up to me telling me that they, invented the Yasso 800s and all this kind of stuff. I find that interesting. But I get a kick out of it, to be honest.
you coach people as well now?
I do. We have a program at Runner's World called the Runner's World Challenge. And what happens in a Runner's World Challenge is people sign up for online coaching, and they get a weekly email from me and, all the training plans. And then they get to ask me questions so I can answer all their questions. And then we also, because I don't want to answer nutrition questions and questions that you actually need a doctor's answer. Since I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nutritionist, we also have a sports medicine person and a professional nutritionist to answer some of the questions. And I answer basically all the training questions. But that's part of the deal. They get to sign up for that program. They get the online coaching, but then they also get the opportunity to ask questions.
All right. Cool stuff. Well, this is about all the time we have here today, Bart. Thanks again for your time. Maybe
Peter, thank you.
To round things off, maybe, can you tell us how people can get in touch with you?
Sure. I got a website, bartyasso.com. My stuff is all on runnersworld.com or in Runner's World magazine. I'm very active on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And if you just, everything is Bart Yasso, so you can pretty easy to find on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And I do my best to keep up with all that stuff. I'm on there every day to respond to people and connect with people. I really love the social media because it is a way to communicate. I don't use it as a platform to, voice my opinions. I do share training tips and things like that, but it's more just, I love to just share information and to connect with, use those to connect with people. It's a great vehicle to use to connect with everyone, whether you're in, if you're at the Arctic Circle or, in my town next door. Really, the beauty of the internet is it makes the world a lot smaller, and it makes it a lot easier to connect with everybody.
Yeah, it sure does. Definitely make sure to add all the necessary links in the show notes, so be prepared to have your followers spike in the next couple of weeks.
I like that, Peter, and thank you for what you're doing. I love these podcasts. I think it's a great way, another way for not everyone likes to listen to music when they run, and as you said, may have some time to listen to a podcast as they commute to work. So it's a great service that you're offering to everybody. So keep up the good work.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, Bart. Thanks for taking the time again.
All right, Peter. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's about it, Junkie. I really hope you enjoyed that chat with Bart Yasso today. If you did, and you've also enjoyed all the other episodes we've released so far, can I just ask a couple of minutes of your time and go to iTunes and leave us an honest review and a rating? That would really help us grow the show even further. And while you're at it, click that subscribe button so we can send the latest releases straight to your iPhone or your iPad or whatever device you're using to listen to the show. Now you can do all that straight into iTunes, of course, but you can also go through our own website, endurance-junkie.com, and in the main menu bar you will find a link called podcast that will obviously take you straight to the podcast page with all the necessary links to subscribe and leave those ratings in iTunes. You will also find a full past and upcoming episodes list, and also a wish list guest form where you can add your top 3 guests that you would like to see featured, and then I will do all the necessary to get these people on the show as fast as possible. Alright, that's it for me for today. Hope to see you again on Friday.